How many F-35s would it take to defeat the entire Chinese Air Force? In the Iran-Iraq War, Iraqi pilots and ground controllers learned in relatively short order that it didn't matter how many planes they sent up in a combat formation, or to a great extent what those planes were. Every time they engaged Iranians flying F-14 Tomcats, the Iraqis ended up getting slaughtered. The most high-performance jet the Iraqis had available at that time were MiG-25 Foxbats, which, being the state-of-the-art Russian plane that they were reportedly flown by Russian pilots. At least a good portion of the time, if not always. The MiG-25 compiled a record of 8 kills and 8 losses in aerial combat in that war, though supposedly all but 3 of those kills were of older Iranian F-4S or F-5S. They only got 3 F-14s. In the meantime, the F-14S killed 103 assorted MiGs, including the 8 MiG-25s. After a learning period, the Iraqis would not send their planes into any area where they suspected F-14s were flying. Period. And they still suffered major losses, because the Iranian F-14 pilots learned to patrol below Iraqi radars, and then pop up and blast the Iraqi formations when they got within range. The same thing happened in the Gulf War. Iraqi pilots who engaged US or British aircraft eventually got to the point where they would not only not go up against them, but they flew many of their MiG-25s to Iran, and buried some in the sand to keep them from being destroyed. http://www.byronhartshorn.com/20. In the Yom Kippur War, Israel shot down 277 Egyptian and Syrian planes while losing only 6 of its own. At some point, when a battle is completely one-sided, the enemy disengages and does what it can to hide, rather than fight. That's what I believe would happen if we were in a shooting war with the Chinese. The air strategy would be only a part of the overall war strategy, but a critical one. And it would involve not just our F-35s, but the entire capability of our Navy and Air Force and those of our allies. It isn't a question of how many F-35s it would take to defeat the PLAAF. It would be an issue of how long the Chinese continued to engage, and under what circumstances. In head-to-head engagements, the Chinese don't have anything flying that couldn't be relatively easily engaged by the air forces of our regional allies, Japan, South Korea, and possibly Taiwan, flying various Gen 4 jets, or the naval or air force assets that could be put into the region. And the more F-22s and F-35s that were involved, the quicker the defeats would come. The Chinese have a lot of combat aircraft, supposedly around 2,010 combat planes, and another 1,000 or so support aircraft, but the majority are a generation or better behind those we or our allies are flying, and their more modern planes would become priority targets, quickly eliminated if they put them up there.